I'm Youngmi Harmony, Youngmi's grandma. Youngmi told me she had a one-person play, and I said, why the fuck do you have a one-person play? Who the fuck wants to hear you talk for an hour? You're a dumbass and a loser. And fat. And then Youngmi said, Harmony, Asian American stories are important. And I said, no, they're not. Let me guess, are you going to talk about how your mom hit you with a house slipper? You're going to talk about how you had a stinky lunch. Your white classmates made fun of you for your stinky lunch. Never heard that before. And then Youngmi was like, I'm an Asian American comedian. Representation matters. And I was like, no, it doesn't. You're an Asian American comedian. Let me guess, you're gonna get on stage with a wig and pretend to be your immigrant grandmother? Never seen that before. Asian Americans all have the same exact story. So why do we need to hear another story? Am I right? Okay. Got a lot of Asian Americans in the audience. No, don't do that. You should feel ashamed. I'm your Harmony, here to remind you to feel shame, bitch. 잘난 척 하지 마. That means don't show off in Korean. 잘난 척 하지 마. So I said, Youngmi, instead of you talking about your worthless, boring-ass life for an hour, why doesn't Harmony do the show for you and then tell the audience, traditional folk tales of great nation of Korea? Right? That sounds like way more fun. Stories from the Joseon 시대, bitch. When women weren't allowed to touch men's bodies or be outside. Okay, so that's what I told her, so I'm gonna do the show, okay? You guys ready for some traditional Korean folk tales? All right, okay, good. Before I begin, I need one audience volunteer, but white men, lower your hands. They're like, oof, that's 2 minutes of an Asian woman, my turn. No, you have to be Asian. I need one Asian volunteer. Just a warning, you're gonna be up here the whole time. Anybody wanna do it? Not the person eating a full plate of lasagna in the front. Bitch, she got the fucking lasagna and a side of fries, not her. Asian person who wants to be up here, you don't have to do the 2-drink minimum. Save some money. Who's cheap and Asian? Wait, I'm not, okay, yeah, Asian, you raise your hand. Okay, no, who wants it? Come on, you're ruining the show. Yes, okay, right here. Fuck yes, fuck yes, fuck yes, yeah. Asian, centering yourself. Okay, so I don't know if you know about traditional Korean stories. There's a 주인공, main character, that's me. And then you, anonymous Asian person number 1, playing the drum, okay? You sit there, you put on these clothes. Hurry! 빨리, 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 빨리! 빨리, 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 hurry! This is called dead air in the show business. You're ruining it for everyone. Please hurry. Good Lord. Oh my God. Hurry up. Ooh, okay, if this show flops, it's not my fault. It's anonymous Asian person number 1's fault, okay? Should I do this? Well, I don't know. This is taking so long. Leather pants, everyone. Clap it up for leather pants. Okay. Wow. Wait, what?
이거 아니다. I got it. Never mind. I figured it out.
She said, I don't know how to do this. Oh my God. Asian American shame. You don't know how to button Asian buttons, bitch? Youngmi Harmony is upset. You're gonna get hit with a house slipper. Okay, you got it? Okay, yeah, clap it up for anonymous Asian person number 1. 앉아. Okay. So here, this is what you do, anonymous Asian person number 1. Whenever I say something funny, or sad, or I don't know, dramatic, you hit the drum, okay? With the sticks under your chair. Jesus Christ. Asian Americans. Okay. Okay, that's very good. Good job. Okay. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, first, 소주. Drum, do the drum. 아, 진짜. 썰렁. 마셔, 임마.
This is really alcohol. I was expecting that.
No, it's 진짜 술. 죽었네. Okay, first story. First story of tonight is called 복순이. Do the drum. That's the important part of the story, the title, bitch. Okay, one more time. The first story of tonight is 복순이. Oh yeah, this is America. You clap for mediocre performance. Okay. But this is not Korea anymore. Okay. So, when Youngmi say, why am I doing the fucking racist accent now? I don't know. Okay, so when Youngmi said, I'm acting. Okay, when Youngmi said she's doing a one-person play, I said, 잘난 척 하지 마. In Korean, that means don't show off. But the literal translation means don't pretend to be high-born. Don't pretend to be rich person's baby, right? 잘난 척 하지 마. I'm a rich man's baby. My dad had a lot of land. He was a farm owner. But I'm from Bangeri. So it's a farm town in Korea. I just realized nobody knows where that is. Americans and their geography. Okay. So it's a farm town in Korea. So a Bangeri rich is like a New York very poor, right? Bangeri 10 is New York City 1. Anyway, so he's very rich, but he only had 3 daughters. Me, 큰 딸, and then 2 sisters, right? And then, because he had no sons, he paid for me to go to school. So I learned how to read and write poetry and sing traditional Korean songs. Where the fuck is the drumming? Did you hear how quiet the audience got? That's like when you drum. Okay. Anyway. So, I went to school with a bunch of boys, the only girl. And I was born in 1910, so this is a long time ago, right? Bangeri. And I became so good at traditional Korean singing that I started going around to other towns near my town to perform. I was like the niche internet micro celebrity of my era. But then one day, my dad came to me, that's Youngmi's great-grandfather, and he said, you have to get married because you're getting old now. You're 14. 존나 열심히 하네. And so then he asked all his friends who are also rich, right? They have land, New York City one rich, right? Do you have a son for my daughter? And all of them said, no. Your daughter is ugly as shit, bitch. What the fuck? That's a joke, I guess. And then I was like, you know what? I didn't want to get married anyway. I want to become a famous singer, so I don't give a fuck. But then my dad said, no, I know who you can marry. The beggar that lives in the shed. And I said, what? He said, you know the beggar that lives in the shed, he's been living there for 10 years. And he's never asked for any money, and he just works. Because I let him live in the shed. And I was like, why would you think that I should marry the beggar in the shed? And he was like, well, he's really stupid. And the entire time that he's been there, he's never stolen a single bag of rice. And I was like, Dad, I'm so sorry, but there's absolutely no way that I'm going to marry the beggar that lives in the shed. And so the next day I was married. The shed beggar, that's Youngmi's grandpa, 할아버지. Give it up for Youngmi's grandpa. And my dad said that I should marry him because he's a hard worker and he's gonna make my life really good. And I was like, there's no way, right? Unfortunately, my dad was right. I hate it when Korean men are right. And within a few years, my husband became very wealthy and bought a lot of land. He became more wealthy than my father. And I had 10 sons in a row. Take it away, drummer man. So in Korea, they call that 복 터졌네, which means your luck exploded, right? 복 터졌네? 남편 돈 잘 벌고 부인 아들 낳고 복 터졌네. Our luck exploded. But okay, so this is a Korean cultural thing maybe you don't understand. Because of Confucianism, when you have sons, you give all your money to the first son. The first son decides what to do for the rest of the kids, right? So I put all my money into my first son, and then we paid for him to go to the best school, and then he went to university in Seoul. And then by the time he was like 18, 19, he came back and got a really important job in Bangeri, in the government. He worked at the post office. But that's a good job, though, back then. That's a really good job, though. They had health insurance. Okay, so I was very proud of him. But one thing that I forgot to tell you, this entire time all of this was happening, the 시발 족 같은 미친 개새끼 쌍놈 일본 놈들 the Japanese were, I don't know, what they were colonizing Korea, right? So when my son was working in the post office, my 큰아들, right, first son, one day we saw on the news, the 시발 족 같은 개놈 쌍놈 시발 일본 개새끼들 were leaving. And we were really happy. But when they left Korea, they decided to kill everybody in the government. Because they thought if they did that, when they left, the country of Korea would fall into chaos and they could say, we told you, you're stupid people, you're like animals, and you need us to rule over you, right? So they planned that, right? And so they killed my son. 큰아들? Do you know 큰아들? They killed my son because he's so good at, he's so smart and he studies so well, right? So they killed my son because of that. They killed my son because 잘난 척 했잖아, right? 잘난 척 하지 마. Don't tell people you are highborn. Don't show off. Don't tell them. And so after he died, I told all my kids, 잘난 척 하지 마. Every time they did something, 잘난 척 하지 마. I forgot to tell you the story of 복순이. 복순이 is a traditional Korean comedy play. Back in the day, when I was a kid, they would go around the country, these actors, and perform it in every town. And basically, the play was a bunch of actors on stage would keep saying over and over, do you know 복순이? 복순이 is the most beautiful girl in Korea. And then they kept saying that for like 5-10 minutes. And then the audience got really riled up and they got really excited. And then after 5-10 minutes, they would say, do you want to see 복순이? And then one of the actors would say, 복순아, 복순아. And then she would appear on the stage. And it was a man wearing makeup to make her look really ugly. And everybody in the audience would laugh really, really hard. And that was a joke. Good job. Kind of mean, a little transphobic. But what I notice is when a lot of American people see that play, I've heard a lot of American people say this about Korean traditional theater. They say, it's so lowbrow and it's so slapstick. And I've heard American people say, this is like a knockoff of vaudeville, without realizing that this play existed for 1,000 years before America was a country. The reason why 복순이 was always played by a man was because that character had to always be played by the best comedian. The 주인공, the main character, the one who made us laugh. But in Korea, we know we have to hide the main character. And make it look like they're the most worthless person, the ugly girl. That's 복순이. I told Youngmi, 잘난 척 하지 마. You never show people if you're good at something. Never. Anyway, are you all excited to see 복순이? Are you excited to see 복순이? Because she's here right now. 복순아! 복순아!
Just turn it up. That's right. Come on.
소원을 말해봐. 네 마음속에 있는 작은 꿈을 말해봐. 네 머리에 있는 이상형을 그려봐. 그리고 나를 봐. 난 너의 진이야. 꿈이야. 진이야. 다림판을 타고 달려봐. 넌 내 옆자리에 앉아. 그저 내 헷갈림 속에 모두 던져. 가슴 벅차 터져버려도 바람결에 날려버려도 지금 이 순간 세상은 너의 것. 그래요 난 널 사랑해. 언제나 믿어. 꿈도 열정도 가지고 싶어. 난 그대 소원을 이뤄주고 싶은 행운의 여신. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for you boy. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your wish. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your dream. 내게만 말해봐. I'm genie for your world. 소원을 말해봐. 지루한 날들이 난 지겹지 않니? 평범한 생활에 넌 묻혀버렸니? 이제 그만 깨어나. 넌 나의 superstar, shining star, superstar. 심장 소리 같은 떨림에 하늘에 내 몸을 맡겨봐. 이제 이 세상은 오직 너의 무대. 소리 같은 파도가 내 가슴에 너의 재준이. 나는 너에게 영원한 biggest fan. 그래요 난 널 사랑해. 언제나 믿어. 꿈도 열정도 가지고 싶어. 난 그대 소원을 이뤄주고 싶은 행운의 여신. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for you boy. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your wish. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your dream. 내게만 말해봐. I'm genie for your world. 소원을 말해봐. DJ, put it back on. 그래요 난 널 사랑해. 언제나 믿어. 꿈도 열정도 가지고 싶어. 난 그대 소원을 이뤄주고 싶은 행운의 여신. 소원을 말해. 너를 섬기다니. 널 나의 뮤직. 진리를 보여달게. 넌 나의 기쁨과 가는 소원 섬기다니. 난 너의 진리를 들어줄게. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for you boy. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your wish. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your dream. 내게만 말해봐. I'm genie for your world. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your boy. 소원을 말해봐. I'm genie for your wish. 소원을 말해봐.
야, 쟤 좀 개 같아. That man gay, maybe. Okay, only the Koreans laughed at that. I just want to take note. I'm in character as my homophobic mom, okay? You can laugh. Asian American stories are important. 좀 개 같아. Hi, everybody. I'm Youngmi's mom. I'm here to tell you another folk story about Korea, but this is a true story. Okay, so I was born 1955. My mom was 42 years old. Before I was born, my first brother died. He was born almost 30 years before I was born. Nobody cares. Okay, so when I was... Thank you. When I was born, back then, everybody hated girls, right? 쓸데없는 딸내미, worthless daughter. But my mom had 10 sons and then me. I'm 막내, last child, right? So everybody loved me. And also, the reason they loved me is because I was very easy baby, and very pretty. In Korea, that's called 미녀, pretty girl. And so my mom said, your name is going to be Su-mi, right? In Chinese, Su is water, Mi, 아름다운 미, beautiful. So beauty of water, beautiful like water, easy, right? And back then, when a baby was born, somebody had to go to City Hall in Seoul and write it in the book. So my mom was too tired, so she told her neighbor, the stupid drunk guy, to go, right? And then, so he went to City Hall, and the City Hall guy was like, okay, what's the baby's name? And he said, I don't know. And he said, you know, I heard them call her 이쁜이. Maybe that's her name. 이쁜이 in Korean means like, you know, when you call a dog or something, like, good girl, like that. He thought that was my name. And so the City Hall guy looked at him like, are you fucking stupid or something? He's like, what's the Chinese characters? Like, they named her Chinese characters, right? And he was like, I don't know. And he said, can you write 이쁜이 in Chinese? And so the City Hall guy wrote my name as 입분 in Chinese, meaning 입, stand up, 분, division. So my name is Stand Up Division. And I never changed it, 입분. But it was supposed to be Su-mi because I said I'm a 미녀, right? In Korea, 미녀 means beautiful woman, but it's very different than in English. Because in English, you say beautiful woman, it's still a woman, but beautiful, right? But in Korea, it's like a new animal. It's like above women, you know? New category, 미녀. It's like a title, like doctor. Oh, 미녀, like that. The first doctors in Korea came about during the 1300s, during the Joseon dynasty, way before white women pretended to invent feminism. But the reason is kind of sad because in the 1300s, they discovered, well, you know, like in Korea, they had Confucianism. And Confucianism said the only people that can touch or see a woman's body is men in her family or her husband. But then also in Confucianism, they said only men can go to school. So all the doctors were men. And when women got sick, the male doctor would come and they said, you can't look at my body, so they would die. And no one cared because it's Korea. But then the royal family, the royal women, they couldn't die because that's like, you know, the king's wife, king's girlfriend, something. Royal blood. So this created a very special group of women that were palace slaves and maids that were trained and taught how to read and all the like stuff from China, everything's from China. And they became doctors just to treat the palace women. These women were called 리녀. Li in Chinese is medicine, 녀 is woman, right? The most famous 리녀 in Korean history is Changum. Because she was the first woman in Korean history to become the king's physician. Meaning she was so good at her job, she overrode the laws of Confucianism, which was the law that made women into doctors in the first place, and they let her touch a man's body. Not just the man, but the king. 대장. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, yes, girl. Yeah, she deserves all the drums. Go off, sis. Actually, why weren't you drumming the whole time, actually? Yeah, give 대장금 a little, yeah, give her something. Yeah, clap for 대장금. She's dead. The most famous story about 대장금, her name is actually Changum, 대 means the great, is that happened when she was a teenager. And it's like a very famous story in Korea because like people love to hear Koreans doing good stuff. I don't know, who cares? So when she was a teenager, one day the king's oldest daughter was 10, but 대장금 was like 15, right? The king's daughter, the 공주, princess, stopped eating and drinking. And then they asked the royal physician, who was an old man, to like watch after her. And during that time, Changum was in the room as an apprentice. And then the king said, why isn't she eating or drinking? And the princess kept saying everything is dirty. And so he had everyone wash all the food and all the drinks and serve it to her again and again and again. And she kept saying, it's dirty, it's dirty, it's dirty. The royal physician decided that she had 정신병, mental illness, and she was a 미친년, crazy bitch. And this was a big deal because in Korea, there's a lot of taboo around mental illness. This meant that the king and his whole family would have to step down, right? And so it caused a lot of political unrest. But Changum was in the room, and she was a girl, so she believes women. So when the princess said everything tastes dirty, she went out back and washed all the dishes. Like she was like, maybe I'm missing something. And she put it outside to dry. And then in an hour, it was covered in 황사 먼지, which is yellow dust. In Korea, in the spring, they call it 황사 season, when the dust from the Gobi Desert blows over and it sits in the air for 3 months, right? So if you ever watch like a K-drama shot in the spring, you notice the sky is really yellow. That's 황사 season, which seems a little obvious. I don't know. I'm sorry, 1500s Koreans, but... And Changum said, oh, the princess is saying it's dirty because of 황사 먼지. So she went to the mountain and she got spring water and she got like a chicken and vegetables and she took all of that in the cellar and locked herself in the cellar and like closed off all the like crevices and she made samgyetang, this like chicken soup, who cares? And then she brought it to the princess wrapped up and finally the princess ate something. Believe women. Or not. And for months, for the rest of 황사 season, she locked herself in the cellar and did that, right? Just to make sure the princess could survive. When I was a kid, my mom, Youngmi 할머니, told me this story because she told me in Korea there's only 2 types of women. 미녀, you don't do anything but you're pretty, and even the king respects you. Or you're smart and you have to lock yourself in the cellar and work really hard. And my mom told me this story because she said, you're smart and pretty, but you have to choose one. You can't be both. Because the men won't let you be both. So are you Changum or are you the princess? And so all my life, because I was pretty, I pretended I was stupid. And it didn't get me that far, bitch. Did not get me that far. I'm just being real. But then when Youngmi was born, she was ugly and smart. So I was like, okay, that's good. But then when she was a teenager, she became pretty and smart, and I said, you have to make a choice. But what I discovered was you have to pretend to be stupid, but they'll let you be smart in one way. The men will let you be smart in one way if you're pretty. You can be funny. Anyway, my daughter Youngmi, now is 16 years old. Oh my God, drum or something, my God, please. And she is smart. You're overcompensating now. It's bad. Now you're ruining it in the opposite way. And she is smart. And the other day she wrote something for school, and I want you all to hear it. So for the first time tonight, everybody please welcome my wonderful daughter, Youngmi.
Give me a second.
That's not what you were wearing when you left the house this morning. Where'd you get that? Is that tattoo?
Mom, do you want me to do this or not? I'm trying. Youngmi Mayer, writing class.
Maybe louder. More confidence like mommy. Be confident like mommy.
Youngmi Mayer, writing class or whatever, June 2nd, 2000. Why I stopped writing. When I became skinny last year, I became attractive to adult men. I like the power of it. The power is nauseating, but also fucking fun. It's like the ride at the amusement park that swirls you around too hard. But you're in there with your friend's dad, Robert, and for some reason, he's looking at your boobs. I enjoy it, even though it makes me want to barf. That's why I started dressing like a slut. Last year, my writing class was taught by this old white guy who looked like those Santa Claus figurines you get at the Florida airport. Like Santa, but in a Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops. His tropical Santa look was complete with advanced skin cancer. His face was peeling off in these big red patches, and his facial features were distorted and puffy. He also had this greasy 70s style comb over, which was weird since it is the early 2000s. Anyway, Florida Santa was extremely cruel. If he was a woman, he would be described as a crazy fucking bitch, Mom. But because he was a man, people described him as his name. Everyone hated him until we all found out that he was actually dying of skin cancer. Then every unfair failing and angry outburst was tolerated. In life, you can be as cruel as you want if you're actively dying. One day, Florida Santa called me into his office. He threw a paper I'd written on his desk. He said, not asked, "You plagiarized this." And I said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Yes, you did. I'm going to fail you." Florida Santa didn't know that writing has been my thing my entire life. I've always been good at it. But just like that, he took it away from me. And I didn't put up a fight. I barely reacted. I took the paper and walked out of his office, and I never wrote anything ever again. It makes sense that this man thought I would just plagiarize something. He didn't know that I used to be the fat, ugly girl who was smart. He only knew me as the pretty teen who was obviously a dumbass because she wore push-up bras. Imagine the rage he felt while reading a paper written by a 16-year-old Asian slut as a 60-year-old white man and coming across a reference to Nietzsche or whatever. All women know that rage that comes from a man when he realizes that you also know something that he does. He feels like you're taking his one thing away from him. To make matters even more interesting, this man had a teenage Filipino wife. Yeah, And he met her at an illegal strip club. Ooh, 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 yeah. She said she was 22, but she looked 15. She wore a lot of makeup and hoey outfits. And I think about how big he must have felt as a failed writer turned high school English teacher, explaining to her the importance of the novel Lolita. My God, imagine that power. But imagine if she responded, actually, I've read Lolita, and I know back then that, this unreliable narrator thing was cool, but it just feels so affected now. Imagine the betrayal that he would feel at the break in their contract, the unspoken contract between racist, misogynistic men who go and find child lovers and wives in Asia to dominate them with their superior knowledge. Her one job was to not know the things that he knows. Her one job was to be stupid and hot. I know this type of man very well, the 90-day fiancé white man. The man suffering from the powerful union of the most intoxicating social illnesses known to mankind: white supremacy and misogyny. A white man who suffers from this combination is beyond hope. The diseases are powerful on their own, but absolutely lethal together. And the reason that I didn't put up a fight when he told me that I plagiarized is because to convince him that I actually wrote it would be to convince him that I was a human being. And that realization would mean that his child wife was also a human being. He would not be able to process that. I know this type of man because I have this type of man as a father. My father told me I was a good writer, because he was a good writer. But I never saw him write anything, so I honestly don't know if that's true or not. And whether I inherited it from him or not, it's worthless to me. Because last year, when I became attractive, I was no longer allowed to have it. For women who have had to make this choice between being pretty and smart, we found ways to display our intelligence and talent covertly in the dark. There is a development of a second skill that I don't know what to call. My dad could always say my skill as a writer belonged to him, but he couldn't claim the other thing. My talent now isn't as a writer. My talent is what a crab has: an adaptation to go in a direction that I wasn't meant to go. I was stopped from going one way, so I did something fucking weird and humiliating to survive. There's no name for this skill, so there's no way to record it in a white man's book. Because of that, it is invisible to them. They can't see it, and they can't take it away. This is a skill that my mother has. I might not have inherited it from her, but she taught it to me in the way that my grandmother taught it to her. When you are both pretty and smart, men will make you choose one. But if you are smart enough, you do not have to choose. You can do both in hiding. Maybe I was born a writer. Maybe I fucking suck at it. But who fucking cares? That's not what I was put on this universe to do. The skill I have is the ability to make you cry and laugh at the same damn time. And this skill cannot be taken away by men, not even by Florida Santa. It's mostly because he's dead. Sad emoji. Mom, I did it. Are you proud? Did I make you proud finally?
Hi everyone, I'm Youngmi Mayer. Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? I heard my grandma and my mom were here. I'm so sorry. Did she yell at you? Did she hit you? Not quite, okay. When I was a kid, my mom used to beat my ass all the time. Okay, what happened? Why is everyone so stiff? You can laugh at that. My mom used to beat my ass all the time. And then while I was crying, she would tell me jokes. So then I would start laughing while I was crying. And then she would say, "Do you know what happens when you laugh while crying?" Hair grows out of your butthole. I used to say that joke on stage, actually, and I would be like, "Isn't my mom insane?" But then just what just happened right now happened to me. And Korean people would be like, "Oh no, that's just a really popular Korean saying." All our parents said that to us. But you know what's really nuts is I have a really hairy butthole. No, go on. Do you. Express yourself through the drum, I guess. So how'd the Koreans figure that out, you know? What kind of research did that take? Korean children are locked in a lab somewhere being tickled or told sad stories about the Korean War, you know, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I have a hairy butthole because I'm half white. That's my trauma. My grandma lost her children in the, I don't know, Japanese occupation, whatever. My mom told me the story where this person with leprosy tried to eat her heart for a year. A person with leprosy tried to eat her heart for a year, yeah. I heard a what? Yeah, what? A person with leprosy tried to eat her heart. Like Indiana Jones style. That's what post-war Korea was like. My trauma is that I'm half white. It's really hard for me. When I first thought of doing a one-person show, I kept thinking, why would I do a one-person show? I'm a fucking dumbass and a loser. Who the fuck would want to hear that? Who wants to hear another Asian American story? Like, what am I going to talk about? My mom hitting me with a house slipper? My lunch was stinky and my white classmates made fun of me? That's what I kept hearing in my head. I kept hearing my mom say, 잘난 척하지 마. Do you know what that means in Korean? It means don't show off. I don't know why I kept thinking that. Why would I have a one-person show? Why would I share my stories? Because all Asian Americans have the same stories, right? When I was a girl growing up in Korea, all my classmates and I dressed the same and had the same haircut and were taught to act the same, and we looked exactly the same. And every day after school, we would go to the pet store to look at all the puppies in the window, and the owner let us play with them. And all the puppies looked the same because they were inbred. Genetically speaking, they were the same person. And there would be like 10 Malteses, you know, that look exactly the same, or 10 Yorkshire Terriers that looked exactly the same. And one day we went there, and the pet shop owner was holding one of them like this, smoking. And we said, "What are you going to do with that puppy?" And he said, "I'm going to throw it away because it's sick." And we all started crying, and he looked really confused. He was confused because he was like, "There's so many more puppies that look exactly the same in the window. They're the same thing. Why are you so sad? Just play with another one." The look on his face was the same confusion that I see when white people mistake you for the other Asian person in the office. And you get really upset, and they're like, "Kimberly Park sounds a lot like Jennifer Lee." And you look kind of the same. But I think Asian people know what it means when you can't tell us apart. If I touch my face, I okay, no one's like, "Can you drum or something?" Jesus. I'm going through it. Drum solo time. You're actually kind of good at that. Do you play that? But this is the thing about those fucking puppies, right? They never bought the lie that they're the same person, same dog. They barked whenever they wanted to. They never let it stop them from barking, just like white guys. Every day, a white guy that is named Kyle looks and thinks exactly like every other white guy named Kyle, wakes up and thinks, "Oh my God, I'm so unique." And starts a podcast. That's literally exactly the same podcast. On a first date, should men or women pay for those? Shut the fuck up, Kyle. What the fuck? And if he doesn't think that he's a dumbass loser, that maybe he needs to shut the fuck up, why would I think that, right? So I kept asking myself, why do I have to do a one-person show? Because I have the same story as probably all of you, if you're Asian. I didn't think that was true until I reread The Joy Luck Club while researching. Bitch, it's the same story. I thought I was the first one to notice the mother-daughter competition thing. No, Amy Tan definitely noticed and wrote about it. There's no need for this show. But then I realized maybe that's the point of the show. The point is that we have the same story. And the reason that I have to do this story is because it is your story. And in that way, it's no longer my story. It's your story. Anonymous Asian person number 1. Center yourself. So at the end of this show, I would like to ask anonymous Asian person number 1 to please take the stage and take a big bow and clap it up. Clap it up for your show. You did it. You did it. Yeah, you did it. The secret main character, Boksuni, the one who makes us laugh, everyone. Clap it up. And now clap it up for Boksuni! Clap it up for 16-year-old Youngmi! Yay! Everyone, center yourself. Stop hiding in the back. Can you come up front and pick a bow, everyone? That's the show, Harry Butthole. Give it up for Asians everywhere. Look at that.